Hey, Hollie.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up? How are you? Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for thinking of me to be on your show.
Awesome. We're excited for you. So for those of you that don't know, Hollie is the owner of the Agent Authority Academy and a branding specialist in really all types of entrepreneur markets. So we wanted to have you on today. This year's been interesting, and I think a lot of people have learned to rebrand, change their brand, remarket, and just wanted to see, what are your thoughts on that? What have you seen been working this year? How to make people, how's it working?
Yeah, so 2020, what a year, first of all. We survived, woo woo. But yeah, so this year we all, everybody was so excited about 2020, Vision 2020. This is going to be our year. And then March hits where we're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, this is crazy. So during that time, there's so many unknowns that, especially in real estate, we had to pivot. Like, it went from, let's go show 10 houses today to no one's allowed to even walk into a door of a home. Like, everyone's on lockdown.
Yeah.
So we started to see like businesses, like restaurants and, real estate agents and all these people who were hurting overnight, starting crafty and starting creative on how to help their clients and also how to not let, their business slow down or not let their momentum that they worked so hard slow down. So, with 2020 and content strategy and branding, we all knew video was a big deal. We've all been, been having our lives, been knowing the intent and the attraction of a video, but we didn't understand like how we were going to go from, having it from here and there for fun to relying on it to communicate with our families, our clients, our, just audience in general. So I think in 2020, the big shift obviously was already video, but I think it gets like getting crafty with it. It was, now we're doing virtual tours. Now we're doing virtual open houses. Now I'm going to start doing a Q&A for all new home buyers or whatever it was that people started getting crafty with. They just started doing it. So it's been an interesting year. And I think when you have such a monkey wrench thrown at you, especially because like literally everyone was affected by it one way or another, like you start thinking like, okay, what's my brand presence? What's my online presence looking like? What, from, like right now, you guys have a beautiful aesthetic for your show. Like that didn't happen overnight. Like you guys had to sit down and take time and say, okay, making sure we have our website so people who are viewing in, maybe watching the replay can go visit us some other time. Making sure we have all the details, the show, the logo for the show, all that dialed in. So I think people started to really say, wait a minute, there's so much technology we have at our fingertips. Why are we not taking advantage for it? And I think just people start focusing on like their USP, their value add, and really how to showcase themselves in right now when it's so super congested because everyone's on video, everyone's trying to do something, and we all just want to showcase ourselves and stand out.
Yeah. And so with that being said, that was something that I was like, okay, this is awesome, but it's just like almost I don't want to say overload, but I felt like at first, right? Like I remember when we first went on lockdown, everybody was on video nonstop. I remember I told them, like, if I have one more Zoom call today, because, everybody was doing trainings, all the stuff for all the pivoting and all that. We've heard that word a million times this year, right? Pivot. But I was like, we just, I got to a point where I was like, okay, it's almost like an overload of information. And like you're saying, how do you not get lost in the noise now, right? Everything's kind of shifted. What is like the first step for somebody who's like, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't know where to begin. Where do you start? Because there's so many ways to go. It's almost overwhelming.
For me, like the best thing that I can give advice for anybody is to identify your avatar or your ICP, your ideal client profile. So like in real estate, you think, oh yeah, it's home buyers, home sellers. No, not necessarily. There's first-time home buyers. There's military, there's empty nesters, there's, newlyweds, there's divorce, there's luxury, there's investors. If you really think about it, there's so many avatars and each person is looking for a different source of information from you. So like say for instance, you just got licensed last year and you're used to be a teacher and you're really passionate about teaching. Your avatar might be first-time home buyers, because now you can educate them through the process. That's what you naturally do at your best, and that's what you enjoy doing. So it's like, okay, so my avatar is first-time home buyers. And then also you can mirror that and say, okay, it's first-time home sellers. Because, buying a home is scary. We all know this, but we never really think about like selling your first home is scary too, because you were never on that flip side.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, so what content, going through and doing the avatar exercise. So what does a first home buyer, like, what are their pain points? What's their challenges? Where do they hang out? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on YouTube? Identifying all the places that are going to be. And I know this sounds like a lot of heavy work, but this is what you've got to do to make sure you put out the correct content and attract the right people. Because you can go live every single day, and that's great and fantastic. But if you don't have an intention and you're not posting with purpose, it's going to fall on deaf ears. Like maybe your high school friend might like it. Maybe your mom might like it, which is great. And hopefully my mom and hopefully my high school friend uses me for real estate, but that's not who's looking right now. And that's not that addresses the problem right now. So like for first-time home buyers, going through and making a list of questions. So maybe it's like, what do you do? What's the first step of the process? Then it's like, well, how much money is required? Then it's, how do you even buy a house? Do I have to pay you? Do I have to pay you right now? Do I have to pay you afterwards? How does that even work? So there's so much unknowns, and first-time home buyers, that's just a classic example because there's a lot of challenges and issues and questions that they have. So then it's like, making your content. So maybe you go live and talking about first steps. Maybe you do an infographic if you go through like on canva.com and do a little infographic of like, hey, here's steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 3 or step, 1, you insert me here. Like you need to talk to me before you do any of this stuff. Or, find creative ways. But I think within that too, before you really start pumping out content and before you start gathering all that stuff to attracting your tribe, I think it's important to get crystal clear on your brand, because the last thing you want to do is have brand confusion. Like, you guys are going to be using the Jen and Jason show, like that font, everything consistent. So people are going to pop up. They're going to see that. They're going to know exactly who. It's not just some random Jen. It's not some random Jason. It's you guys,
Yeah.
Because if next week, if you do the exact same show and your font's in like this super cursive, hard to read font, you're going to lose brand credibility because people are like, wait, what's going on? Is this a different show? Even though it's the same name, but to me, it's like, get crystal clear on your brand identity, who you stand for, who's your avatar, and then start creating that content and just do it. I mean, I know a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't know how to use this fancy StreamYard. I don't know how to use this fancy Zoom. I don't know how to use this. Okay, well, just everybody knows how to hit live on Facebook. Just start there. And then find your resources, find your mentors that can help you get to the next level. But something is a lot better than nothing, but you've got to do it intentionally. And you just got to start with identifying who's your avatar, who's your ideal client, who do you love working with? Because, I mean, we all have types of clients that we don't necessarily enjoy working with, right? So eliminate that one so you don't want to attract those people. I'm not saying that, we want to turn out business, but we want to turn on the business that we actually enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I think you just hit on a really good point, because I know for me, when we first started getting into video, super overwhelmed with like where to begin, right? Okay, because you have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have your Instagram account, and you can't StreamYard into Instagram, right? Because it's like so you have YouTube, and every different platform I think is looking for a little bit different content. Mm-hmm. So if you're, as you get going into it, the one thing that's amazing about video is when you do it, you have it forever, right? So as you get experience, you can now take that video, repurpose it, and as you learn how to do that. But if you're just getting started, don't want to worry about all the platforms. Which one do you start with?
So to me, I always say, well, what's your main pillar? Like, where do you have the most amount of people right now, and who are your audience? Where are they at? For me personally, it's Facebook, just because we all know Facebook is like, it's not the number one. Surprisingly, YouTube's the number one used social media platform, but it's like the second one, and it's like the most relevant one when it comes to easy use, and the most people are on it right now. Yeah. So for me, it's Facebook, and I like to put 80% of my time on Facebook. And then the other places like LinkedIn, I'll be honest, it's just not my jam. To me personally, there's a lot of spam going on. Like every time I log in, there's somebody trying to sell me on something. Mm-hmm. That's just not where I'm at right now. But this is me personally. Now versus I know some people who are killing it on LinkedIn because they've dialed that in. But I feel like I've dialed in Facebook. So Facebook's going to be my 80%. And then it's like, okay, where are you going to put the other 20%? Maybe that's all going to be Instagram. Maybe it's going to be TikTok and, LinkedIn or whatever it is. There's no right or wrong answer, but the way to make it least overwhelming, because like you said, they're like, how do I get this on there? And then wait a minute, there's Pinterest too. How do I get on there? Then it's like, okay, well, understanding where you most comfortable being on at and what are you most comfortable using, because an overwhelm is going to start whenever you have to learn a brand new thing. Like I have TikTok, I'll be honest, like I still don't understand it completely on how to do all the shortcuts and the cool little, that's just not my priority right now. It's getting there, but you know what I mean? But now you have Instagram Reels. So like, that's kind of starting for me. I'm like, I'd rather do an Instagram Reel where I'm more familiar with the platform than doing a TikTok.
Yeah.
So it's
funny. Yeah. I just saw the Instagram Reels for like the first time the other day because I was trying to upload something and I'm like, I don't know how I just sent something to a reel. I don't even know what that is. Totally accidentally did it. But what you were saying is that's really funny. So I just started doing TikTok. But for me, the TikTok was so much easier. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this because you can edit and you can just like, you know, have all the graphics pop up and for the little quick videos. But yeah, I saw it's so funny you say that because I'm like, I would rather go TikTok, but Instagram Reels, I'm like, what is this? I didn't even know this existed.
Exactly. It varies person by person. So like some people like tend to, you know, compare themselves to other people. They're like, oh my gosh, Jen, she's crushing on TikTok. I just never will be like that. I was like, get out of that mindset and say, what do I shine best at? What place do I most comfortable with? And then as you get time going on, then you can start learning other platforms and using that time. But I say, obviously start with your pillar right now. Start with where you have the most presence. And then also most importantly, where your people are at. So like maybe you are getting into real estate, but then you're huge on one platform, but it doesn't necessarily mean that buyers are going to be on there. So it's understanding too. It's like, okay, I have a present here, but where are my buyers at too? So making sure that maybe you are a part of community page groups on Facebook, making sure that you're, you know, because your home seller or your home buyer that you might work with next might not come from your sphere. We all know this, right? You know, lead gen, whatever, but how else can we organically attract those people? It's maybe running paid ads on, you know, 30-mile radius from where you are or a specific neighborhood. And you're doing a walkthrough. I'm looking out my window. That's why I'm looking. Sorry, you guys can't see me, but I'm looking at my window, envisioning myself doing this. But maybe it's you walking down a neighborhood, a new construction and saying, hey, you know, I'm fabulous builder. Can't wait to do a live with him next week. But until then, just take a look at this community. Well, then you start marketing to just that area. So like, that's when you start really building your online presence and really getting comfortable. But I mean, like you said, you got to do baby steps. Don't get overwhelmed. Start the platform that you know the best. But then once you really start getting dialed in and people are like, oh, like you're that real estate girl. You're that real estate guy. That's when you keep that traction up, you keep going. And then you start adding to the complexity of getting your target audience within, you know, organic and also paid.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that agents make, and just anybody in marketing, is they feel that they have to make it so professional, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because now, like, I see it a lot in real estate, right? You see a guy, we see him out all the time, like Jason, he's in his little polo, right? He hardly ever wears a suit, but then they'll do a video and they're in the suit with a gray background. And I'm like, scroll, because you know you're not going to watch it because you can tell that it's not them. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's the biggest thing is that, like, just
be genuine. And just start, right? Like, how many people talk about we're going to do a video or we're going to get on Instagram, we're going to get on Facebook, and they never do it because it's analysis by paralysis, right? Mm-hmm. Like they literally scare themselves out of it to the point where they just don't do it. I'd rather have one where we mess something up, adds a little bit of funniness to it anyway, but it still gets out there.
And that's most of my videos. Like, I get myself, like, my ADD kicks in and then I'm like, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. I go back. But, you know, I think that it's, we have to, like, just make it who we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, I listen to Gary Vee a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And one of the things he always is, you know, it's more about documenting versus creating, because a lot of the stuff and a lot of the content you need, it's happening every day, right? So when you're out at that inspection and something comes up that you think somebody might, it's an opportunity for them to learn from, like, just get on your live and talk about it, you know? And so, but going to that, how important are stories, do you think?
Stories as far as storytelling, or stories as in social
stories media? And like Facebook stories, Instagram stories.
That's it. Both of them are important, by the way, your story and then Facebook stories. But when it comes to showcasing and you know, having people view, it's interesting how Facebook is. I feel like we'll never crack the code. I feel like there's some magician somewhere behind the curtain, like some Wizard of Oz guy that's like, you almost had it. Now let's switch it completely. So Stories are phenomenal. And I at least try to post, I actually post more on my Instagram stories than I actually do on my actual Instagram, because I feel like I get more engagement and more messages. People who are more comfortable like commenting about something, they'll just respond to me and knowing that it goes straight into my inbox versus like publicly asking me, how did you do that? Like, for instance, I always I create these little story stickers. So like, those little fun little GIFs and people dancing or whatever.
Yeah.
I created that I created my own. And when I start using those, I'll post it, and some people might ask about it, but then when I start using them in my actual stories, people are like, who is this girl? What, because not everybody can get in a story. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get your GIFs, and there's a process you go through. So then people are like, how did you get that? Like, wow, she must be somebody important, which, I mean, by the way, it's actually a simple formula to do, but the perspective, or, from the outside, an outsider's view, they're like, oh my gosh, she's in like the stickers, like she's in GIFs, like she must be somebody important. And it's so funny because I'll use some of those because just to add some of my personality. Like, I'm quirky, I'm weird, I'm awkward, and I showcase that in my story stickers. So like using that's in a classic example, but then also too, it could be a great way to go through and, show a house, because it's so crazy to see like so many people are on my front of like the stories of Facebook that I rarely see my feed, and vice versa. So to me, I think it's a great way to get in front of audiences everywhere. I mean, you can take your picture and then you can upload your story a different way. Just understand there's different formats, because like you wouldn't want to put a square picture. And I'm saying this from my lessons learned. I took a square picture because I had it cut, for reduced for Instagram. And I was lazy. I'm not gonna lie. I was lazy. I was like, I'm just gonna create that story and then just kind of dress it up with some GIFs and some stickers. Well, like I usually get about I have my personal Facebook that's closed, it's private, and I usually get about 1,000 story views. That one particularly, I think I might have gotten 80.
Wow.
So to me, I'm like, Facebook is like, this does not even look good. Like this is trash.
Right.
Like we're not gonna. So it's understanding we make sure to utilize it in the way that it's intended. But then also create some interest, do some behind the scenes, some stuff, because stories disappear. We know this, right? I mean, obviously there's archives and highlights we can do, but know that story is not going to stay at the top of the page forever. That's the aesthetics of it. And that's why people like are addicted to TikTok, because I mean, me personally, I go down that rabbit hole. I don't know how to create awesome TikToks, but I'll go there and watch a bunch of people. I'll find myself getting sucked into it because it's immediate attention grabbing. Like what happens when you open up TikTok, bam, a video starts playing and somebody's doing something.
Yeah.
So it's like, think about that with stories. What are you doing to like, if somebody's watch your stories, what are you doing to be like animated, be fun, be eye-catching? Because if it's just a square little picture that looks really bad, they're probably just going to swipe away from it. And then Facebook's like, got it. You don't want to see her content anymore. We're going to put you onto somebody who's actually using it the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really key though. It's just understanding what I'm learning is like each platform does have its own purpose, right? Like you said on Instagram, I hardly ever post on my actual Instagram. It's always my stories.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what I do. But then I love it because it's super easy. It shares to my Facebook story. And that I just try to keep, like you said, like I'm at this house today. Like I was showing a house yesterday and the shower was so small that my head, I'm not tall, I'm like 5'4". And I was like, okay guys, I'm not tall. Like I'm in the shower, like just because it's a weird thing that happened that day. Right. And so, and I think it goes to like make our, I think people are always intrigued looking at houses, right? I know I am, especially that's why there's HGTV. Yeah. So I think we have the easiest content right there. Even if you're afraid to put your face on it, you can take a video of the house you're showing.
Exactly.
And talk about it, and you don't have to be in it. So.
Yes. And you said something real quick that you said, knowing its purpose of each platform. And to me, it's understanding too. I think of it like in real estate, right? We all know it. Like the way we live is not the way we list.
Yes.
Like right now, my studio is a bedroom in our house. When we list this house, it's not going to be set up as a bedroom, as a studio in the house, because I'm in an area where people have, it's a family-centered area. I'm going to stage this room as a bedroom.
Yeah.
So understanding, like, the way I live on here, like in this studio, I don't live in the studio, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Versus listing it versus, same thing, kind of analogy when it comes to social media. The way we, you wouldn't post a square picture on a story because that's not the intended. I'm going to be staging this bedroom for an actual bedroom because that's the way the builder intended it to, right? Because that's like staging 101. Each space needs to be as the builder intended it to, so it can show off the most it can. Each platform needs to be utilized the way that the platform was made to do, so that you can showcase the best and reach the most amount of people, because that's the way you're using it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think another thing, going back to content and things like that, is one of the biggest things that I know I struggled with is I always felt that I had to come up with completely original content, right? Like, you know, I didn't want it to seem like I was copying something or whatever. And so one of the things I love about TikTok and why I think I am enjoying TikTok so much is because it's all copycat content, right? So I'll see a video, like whatever the trend is, and it could be them, like they do like the little dance about something. And somebody will post about being a parent. Some people will post about whatever. But you can take that same idea, and we started using it for real estate. I'm like, okay, so like, how do we take this idea of this dance or whatever the goofy thing is, but apply it to like real estate content? And so I think that that's the biggest thing, is like, you can see something that somebody's doing and you can still make it your own by copying what they're doing. You don't have to sit there and come up with some crazy content calendar of something that is all original.
Absolutely. So we were actually just talking about this yesterday on a live that I had done. And it's so funny because people want to try to be so original. They want to make sure we're doing something good, which is a great mindset to have. But also, when you're doing stuff and you're posting stuff, it's not a bad thing to also see what are these big marketers doing. And like you said, you listen to Gary Vee. So he's a great person to watch for, because now you can sit there and say that, okay, how can I take this and put in the real estate industry? So like, also side note, take those TikToks and download them and then upload them as a reel on Instagram. So just FYI for you, side note, because I've seen a lot of people starting to do that. And Instagram's still recognizing them as original reel, and like the sound and everything will come as show as an original sound to you, but still do that, because I've uploaded one and it got some traction, and I was like, well, that was one I did not too long, you know what I mean, from another platform for another purpose. So that was just, sorry, that was a squirrel. That was an ADD moment.
I like that. Yeah. I've been sharing them to my story, but I didn't understand the reel. So
like, you know, if you think about it, before Instagram had stories, it was Snapchat.
Right.
So Instagram and Facebook, they embodied Snapchat by saying, oh, okay, our people are going there because you guys have disappearing stories. Yeah. We're going to add disappearing stories to ours. Well, then TikTok comes in and takes away a lot of people, especially on stories and stuff, because now you can create like an animate, you know, a video that's actually there or whatever. So then Instagram and Facebook, one and the same, as we know that they all live, you know, they're all the same company. Say, okay, cool. Now we're going to take that and we're going to call it Reels. So that's what Reels are on Instagram. It's pretty much like TikTok for Instagram, but they are making a priority to showcase those as well. So just go through there and, you know, take the same concept, and because I've seen too, what's trending a little bit on TikTok trends on Reels too. And some people either do original content, but you can also just take it and don't be scared to repurpose your content. I mean,
yeah.
It's all intended for that. One thing I do want to talk about too is you had said something that said, if you're scared to be on camera, just, you know, do the house. Perfect starting point. But I will say this, because I was that girl. I come from a small town, like population 1,300, and my very first real estate broker was Jay Kinder, and I was like, it was perfect for me. Why? Because Jay Kinder's face is on the billboard. Jay Kinder's face is on the sign. I've gotten a lot better, but back then, especially then, I was very like shy. I didn't want my picture out there. I uploaded an open house one time on YouTube, and this was like 2010, and it got like 30,000 views. I deleted it because I was so scared, because I didn't know who the 30,000 people were. I was like, who is that? So that just tells you my mindset back then. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I kind of get creeped out. I'm like, there's some weirdos watching it. What's going on? So I did. Then, as I started becoming an entrepreneur myself, obviously us as real estate agents, we already are. We just don't, a lot of us, especially new in the business, don't understand that we're our own business.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, wait a minute. What am I doing differently to showcase? And at the end of the day, it's yourself. So if you're not comfortable putting yourself on camera first, that's okay. But just know, if you really want to showcase and stand out and brand yourself, you've got to flip that camera over once in a while. You've got to let people know who's on the other end, because I had done this little hobby. I'd started a little boutique that was for concert goers. And I had hired an e-commerce coach just because we all know if we want to do the best, you got to talk to the best about it.
Right.
And he said, his piece of advice, and it still sticks with me obviously today as I'm telling this story, is he said, what are you doing different than Amazon and Target? So if you think about it, actually I went to Target yesterday. They had this really cool Motley Crue shirt that was bleached and screen printed for $10.
Nice.
Now, if I was making that Motley Crue shirt, I would manually have to bleach it. I would manually distress it. Me personally, you know what I mean? Like there'd be a lot more than some mass production line. So what would I have been doing differently to sell this Motley Crue shirt for $30 instead of $10? Because obviously we know right now we live in a time where people compare prices and there's no brand loyalty.
Yeah.
So he asked me that question. He's like, I want you to think about it. Well, for me, why I even started the boutique is because I loved going to concerts. I loved going to concerts, rock and roll especially. And then somehow or another, me and my sister, we'd always end up in the meet and greet line, or we'd always get behind stage. We would always find our little ways to kind of get in, where we fit in type thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to start a blog. So I'm just going to take these conversations I have with these people and I'm going to transcribe it and blog it. Why? It was because I was too shy to be on a video, to be my voice. Even my voice, I didn't want my voice to be heard. Wow. Which is terrible because I'm horrible at grammar. Like that is not my strong suit. I am not a writer. I am a video person. So the lesson that was learned was, okay, after I started getting these people going, I'm like, okay, this is different. Blog is terrible. We should turn this into a podcast. So that's how my podcasting journey had started, is because I wanted to create a unique way to connect with my customers. And I say, hey, if you like, here's your Third Eye Blind, because I interviewed Third Eye Blind, right? So you love Third Eye Blind. Tell me your questions, submit your questions, and I'll ask Chris your questions. And then making them feel like they are part of the community. So it's like, what are we doing to make people feel like are part of our community? And obviously there's only one you. So finding a way to uniquely connect with people. And that's what, I know that's a whole nother rabbit hole I can go down through is podcasting, but that's what I'm super passionate about, is because that's how I kind of really started feeling comfortable by putting myself out in content, is because I could hide behind a microphone and it would just be audio. And then I finally started getting more comfortable. I was like, okay, maybe I need to put my picture on the cover art so people see who I am. So just starting like that. But then podcasting is such a fun way too. So in real estate, as we all know, if we're going to go talk, we want to get a builder's business. And if you just say, hey, new builder, I want to be your real estate agent. They're probably going to think like, yeah, you and everybody else in the neighborhood, congratulations. Like everybody wants to be our listing agent. However, if you went to approach the broker and said, hey, builder, you approach the builder and said, hey, builder, I have this podcast called Unleash Your Inner Legend. And what it does is it showcases entrepreneurs that have made it big by telling their story and just really kind of diving in. I'd love to feature you on the podcast and really talk about I see that you guys have greenhouses and you guys are energy efficient and you guys have storm shelters. I would love to hear your why on that, because obviously there's something that happened somewhere. So wouldn't he be more apt to say, hey, yeah, I'd love to be on your podcast versus, oh yeah, I'd love to hear your show and your little dance about how awesome you are in listing. So now you come on your podcast show, you start creating that relationship with them, and then after the record button's off, your relationship doesn't stop there. Then you kind of get more, you start having a relationship with people and start building it that way. So that's why I'm super passionate about podcasting, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down.
That's awesome.
I love it. But it's also good because you're adding value, right? You're not just going in for the ask, right? When you just meet somebody and you're just asking for something, it's a turnoff for everybody, no matter what industry, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of Gary Vee's whole book, Jab, Right Hook, right? Yeah. Give, and then ask.
Yeah. And then, so real quick, just because we're running out of time because I want to respect your time, but the Agent Authority Academy, tell us a little bit about this, what it is.
Somebody's at our front door, so I got to take that. You want to grab it?
Cool. So Agent Authority Academy is for those who, like myself, I pride myself on being resourceful. I love to say I ball on a budget, and I love creative outlet. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
So people who like to amplify their online presence, it's a course. It's kind of like a DIY course for them to go through. So right now there's 2 courses released, and one's a podcasting, shocker, right? And then the other one's just like a little how to create those story stickers that I was talking about. But also coming soon is more of how to get featured on articles, how to position yourself as an expert, things like that. But it's all about helping real estate agents And the tagline that I like to have is establish authority, embrace authenticity. So how do you, it's not necessarily like you said, put a suit on, like go buy a Gucci belt and then return it to the store the next day. We're having a photo shoot. Like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about like, how do you take your own personality and helping agents, amplify that and expand their reach and do it in creative ways and stand out. Because we had a mastermind last week and I'd helped 5 people help with the story stickers. And it's so crazy to think, like, I had so many of them respond back and like, agents are asking me, because one of their goal was to have like recruiting. I mean, obviously all agent teams are trying to recruit. And they're like, this would be such a great recruiting tool. It's like, hey, here's how you do it, or here's how you do it, is blowing people away. Just little stuff like that you think is super hard. That's not. That's what Agent Authority Academy is about, is helping people the how to without having them spend thousands of dollars somewhere else to pay somebody to do it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we really, really appreciate you coming on here today. So much good information. I think as everybody's kind of looking to the new year for their brand and what they're going to do and how they're going to attack 2021, great tips on how to get started and all of that. So we really, really appreciate having you on today. And if they want to get involved with the Agent Authority Academy, like, you have like the website?
Absolutely. So first off, thank you so much for having me on again. I'm super excited. Appreciate you thinking about me and having me on. So to connect with me, it's super easy, holliekitchens.com. If you want to go to Agent Authority Academy, it's agentauthorityacademy.com. Also, there's a Facebook page. Super simple, nothing too complicated. But yeah, definitely feel free to reach out. I would love to answer any questions that anybody that watching might have or anything like that when it comes to getting started, content, and branding.
Awesome. We loved it. It was awesome. Thank you. So many good nuggets in there. So you have a great day. And gosh, next week's Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Have a good holiday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one. We'll talk.
You too. Bye.